My brother has been finding ways to make my career sound smaller for as long as I can remember. Same energy every time. My sister, the doctor, you'd think it was a compliment. You'd have to know him to understand why it never was. My brother's son collapsed at a birthday party on a Sunday afternoon, and I was already moving before I fully understood what was happening. My name is Dana. I am 36 years old, an emergency medicine physician in Nashville, Tennessee, and I have spent 12 years learning to act before fear arrives. My older brother Kyle's son, Connor, 7 years old, went down in the backyard, and I dropped everything and did what I have done hundreds of times in emergency rooms, calmly and precisely and without hesitation. I kept him stable until the paramedics arrived. When they took over, one of them looked at me and said quietly, "Good catch." Kyle was standing 3 feet away the entire time. He thanked the paramedics. He answered the questions they asked him, but he never once looked at me directly. I kept thinking about that on the drive home. I am still thinking about it now. My older brother, Kyle, had a way of introducing me as my sister, the doctor, that somehow made the title sound cheap, like something I found in a cereal box, and he'd been saying it for as long as I'd been a doctor. He is 40, a project manager, the kind of man who fills a room with ease and has never once used that ease to make things easier for anyone but himself. When I started medical school, he told our parents it was a lot of money for a job that basically just tells people to take Advil. When I graduated, he posted a photo on Facebook with the caption, "Proud of my little sis, must be nice to have other people pay for your education." I had taken out $300,000 in loans. I paid every dollar back myself. He knew that. He posted it anyway. Nobody in our family said anything. They never did. 2 years ago at Thanksgiving, Kyle was in a good mood, which somehow always made it worse. He waited until the table was full, our parents, his wife Amber, 2 cousins, everyone, and then he said it between the turkey and the pie like it was nothing. Must be nice to play hero on someone else's dime. Some of us just work for a living. The table went quiet for exactly 2 seconds, then someone asked for the gravy. I laughed. That was my mistake. Not the laugh itself. I understood why I did it, the particular social reflex of making it smaller so everyone can breathe again. But I gave him the floor that night. And once you give someone the floor, they stop asking permission to take it. He made the same kind of comment at Easter, at my cousin's wedding, at my nephew's 5th birthday. Each time I laughed, each time I handed it back to him. After Thanksgiving, I did something I'd never done before. I texted Kyle and told him the comment had bothered me. I kept it short, factual, the way I write clinical notes. He replied within 4 minutes. "You know, I'm just messing with you. You're too sensitive for someone who deals with actual emergencies." Then a follow-up 30 seconds later. "Seriously though, lighten up, we're family." I read those messages 3 times. I noticed that he had used my own job, the emergencies, the weight of what I carry at work, to argue that I shouldn't be allowed to feel anything about him. That was the thing that stayed with me, not the original comment. Not even the dismissal, the logic of it, the way he'd constructed a rule specifically designed to keep me from ever responding. My hands were cold the whole evening. I didn't reply. For 2 weeks after the birthday party, Kyle called me every day. He was not the Kyle I knew on those calls. He was quieter, more careful with his words, crying on 2 of them in a way I had never heard from him before. He said he didn't know what he would have done. He said Connor asked about me every morning. He said thank you more times in 14 days than he had said it to me in all the years combined. I didn't know what to do with any of it. I wanted to believe it was the beginning of something. I kept waiting for the version of my brother I'd spent years hoping existed somewhere underneath the other one. And the thing is, I think that version does exist. I just understand now that it only comes out when I'm useful, and if you've ever confused someone needing you with someone seeing you, stay with me. 3 weeks after the birthday party, Kyle called again. He started with Connor, how well he was doing, how the doctors at the follow-up were pleased, how he'd been sleeping better. I was glad. I meant it. Then he said, "I was actually hoping you could help expedite the follow-up cardiology appointment through your hospital connections." He paused. "You know how these things work. You've got the hookup," the word hookup, after the tears. After 14 days of phone calls, after years of cheap doctor and one afternoon in a backyard where I kept his son alive, "Hookup," said casually, said like we were talking about restaurant reservations. I didn't respond for a long moment. He filled the silence with, "I mean, you probably know people, right?" I said I would see what I could do. I hung up. I sat in my car in the hospital parking garage for 20 minutes without moving. My closest friend, Dr. Priya Nair, and I were having lunch in the hospital cafeteria when I told her about the hookup call. She listened without interrupting, which is one of the reasons I have trusted her for 9 years. When I finished, she asked me one question. "Did Kyle ever tell you why he didn't go to medical school?" I didn't know the answer. I hadn't known there was an answer. I called my mother that evening. She was quiet for a moment before she told me Kyle had applied to medical school right after his own college graduation, just before I got my own admission. He didn't get in. He never told anyone. He never talked about it. She had found the rejection letter in his room by accident and kept quiet because he'd asked her to. Years of resentment starting before I even got my acceptance letter, my title in quotation marks. And underneath all of it, a letter he never showed anyone. 2 weeks after the conversation with my mother, I drove to Kyle's house to see Connor. Connor came to the door before I could knock, 7 years old, very serious, holding a folded piece of paper with both hands like it was something important, which it was. He had drawn a picture, a woman in a white coat, a stethoscope, Aunt Dana written in his careful, enormous handwriting across the top, a red heart above her head. He handed it to me and said, "I told my teacher you saved me." Kyle was standing in the hallway behind him. He didn't say anything. I thanked Connor. I hugged him. I got back in my car and pulled out of the driveway and made it exactly 4 blocks before I had to stop at a red light, and that was when I finally cried, not for the emergency. Not for the hookup, just for the drawing, just for the red heart. 3 months later, at Christmas, Kyle made another comment. We were clearing the table after dinner when he nodded at the leftover food and said with a smile, "Try not to diagnose the turkey this year." The table gave a polite laugh. Same shape as always. Same smile, same delivery, the same particular ease he's always had with these moments, like they cost him nothing because they never have. In the past, I would have laughed too, the reflex, the floor, all of it. I would have made it smaller so everyone could breathe again, the way I'd been doing for years. I didn't laugh this time. I looked at him across the table quietly and said, "I know." Then I asked our mother if she wanted more coffee and passed the dessert plates without missing a beat. Kyle didn't respond. He looked at me for a moment, something moving across his face that I couldn't quite name, and then he reached for his own drink without saying anything else. He didn't know what I knew. He didn't know about the letter, the application, what years of jokes had actually been about. He just knew something had changed. That was enough. That was all the justice I needed. It's been 1 year. Connor is healthy. His follow-up cardiology appointments have all come back clear, and he has, according to his parents, become very interested in how the heart works, which I find quietly wonderful. Kyle and I still have dinner with the family. He still makes comments sometimes, smaller ones, less confident ones, delivered with slightly less ease than they used to be. I don't laugh anymore. I don't fight either. I don't explain myself, and I don't perform patience. I just let the comments land where they land, which is somewhere entirely different than they used to, because I understand now what they were always actually about. The drawing is framed in my office between my medical school diploma and a photo of my residency class. I look at it on hard days. It helps. If this story stayed with you, like this video, subscribe so you never miss one, and tell me in the comments. Should Dana have told Kyle what she found out, or was staying silent the right call? Some people can't afford to see you clearly. Once you understand why, the words stop landing the same way. My brother spent years trying to make my work sound small. His son drew me with a red heart.